So, Donald Miller here. So, I'm going to answer some questions that have been floating around my office with some of these younger generations. And hey, man, I was young in this trade. I was 19 in this trade. Okay, so I was dumb as a box of rocks when I came in here. Okay, and I owe this trade everything. So I want, and I have this trade has provided me just the last 24 years have just been amazing, and they haven't been easy. You don't want an easy ride. Okay, you don't want to. The easier your ride is, the weaker you are, and this trade does not need weak men and or women, whatever floats your boat. Okay, you want to come in this trade as a woman, and you want to pay your dues and suffer and learn this trade, because learning this trade is difficult. At least it's difficult if you want to make a substantial living in this trade. If you want to be paid hourly, so be it. Okay, there's more than enough simps to go around in this trade, that's for sure. Okay, and they're in their 20s. They're some of them are in their 30s, and they're constantly looking for the easiest ride. The ones that are looking for the easy ride or the low-hanging fruit, they're the weak individuals. Okay, they don't want to work hard, and they don't want to have any discipline. And typically they're going to be the bottom of the rungs unless they become slimy, and then the only reason why they're making money is through ill-gotten gains. And ill-gotten gains was taught to me at a young age. You do not want to go down that road. You literally rob your soul to make money in this trade, and that's not what you want to do. So yeah, and some guys don't adjust to the program here. Okay, we run a disciplined program because we want to make the apprentice or whoever's entering this company, we want to make them strong, because we know they're not going to be here forever. Okay, and typically I don't want employees to be here more than 3 to 5 years. I want you come here. If you want to stay, that's optional for you. But my training platform brings you in young, trains you, and at the moment you hit like a hardened mechanic state, or a disciplined mechanic, you can go wherever you want. I'm not holding you back. I'm not underpaying you either. Okay, I'm going to pay you based on what your hands do, not what your lip service does. And I have the eyes to be able to tell the difference. And that's where these guys can't fool me. Okay, when you come in and it doesn't look like you have 10,000 hours with a screwdriver, then I'm not going to believe that you have 10,000 hours with a screwdriver. A screwdriver in the hands of a properly trained mechanic is beautiful. It's fluid. There's a look to it. There's a 10,000 yard stare to it, so they say. All right. You can tell a man's been properly trained because of the amount of hours he's had a tool bag on, the amount of hours he's had that tool in his hands. And that's why these guys that are running around with 2 tools in their back pocket because they think they're Joe Cool, they're just robbing themselves. All right, what you're looking for, had to charge my phone there. You want those, if you're young in this trade, you want a disciplined training program, okay? Not just being on the job. If a company just throws you on the job and you're a helper, then it's up to you to learn the trade, all right? The more disciplined you are with proper training and learning from the correct mechanic or the correct master mechanic, okay, the better your longevity and your career in this trade is going to be, all right? And don't be naive to this, okay? We've had guys in their 30s and they don't have the discipline to be called a mechanic, okay? They might know what a mechanic is as far as the electrical knowledge, but you put tools in their hand and they're slow as snail shit. okay? They can't produce anything in a decent amount of time because all those years they've been in the trade, they didn't want to put a tool belt on. They put two tools in their back pocket. They used a bucket for their tools, and they're not properly trained to be efficient. If you're entering this trade and you are going to be in this trade for a lifetime, proper training techniques are important. This trade is not a trade where you sit your body on and money comes to you. You're going to go broke, okay? You're going to be 40 and you're going to be miserable. And then you're going to become pessimistic. And there's a lot of people in this trade that are that way, all right? The moment you enter this trade, you need to start training, okay? And it is training. It takes years, and you can't shortcut this trade. There's no magical mystery ride that all of a sudden you're going to turn 10 years of work into 3 years. It just doesn't work that way. You need every minute that screwdriver is in your hand, you need that. You're building your foundation, okay? So now a guy that's been in the trade like 19, at 28, I had my own business already, okay? From the moment I entered this trade, I had a tool bag on, okay? The moment I linked up with my mentor, which was about 2.5 years in to being in this trade, maybe 2 years in, okay, my tool bag never came off. And I was taught the disciplines of why it's so important to have a tool bag on. Why is it so important to plan your day so when you go upstairs with your materials, you're not coming back down. You're not bouncing in and out of the van all day long. I make one trip to the van, okay? If I got to make two, I'm upset with myself. That's good training, okay? And if you're young in this trade, don't listen to the lazy simps. There is no easy way. It's a dead end. Don't go down that road. It sucks. It's called discipline. It's called waking up early. It's called eating right. It's called understanding that you're a tradesman, or at least you're in an industry that produces tradesmen. Tradesmen live a certain lifestyle. Understand that lifestyle. If you accept that lifestyle, then gear what you're doing to live within that lifestyle, okay? I'm going to say a couple things you might not like. Tradesmen are day walkers. We don't date night walkers. What does that mean? Tradesmen work early hours. Like I personally get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Not everyone does, but I do, okay? I cannot possibly hang out with anyone that has a night job, okay? Before I entered this trade, I was a cook. Cook's a night walker, okay? Cooks start their day at like 2:30 in the afternoon. Some guys are in there early, but for the most part, a cook or a chef is going to work until 10 o'clock at night, sometimes midnight, and then they have their beers or whatever, and they go home at 2, they go to sleep. Night walkers, okay? If you're in this trade, you need to understand what is most compatible with this trade, all right? And that's what was said to me. I didn't like it in the beginning because in the beginning I was in my 20s, I'm going out to bars, I'm doing my thing that way. But as I settled down and I wanted a family and I wanted a house, I had to accept that the odds, I'm not saying that there's not outliers. I'm saying your best odds are to know how to gear your decisions to help you succeed. Not everyone succeeds in this trade. This trade has a 20% dump off rating that there is just a revolving door of guys that just go around and around. And in a good economy, that 20% that should be gone, they hang around because companies need heads. So there's a portion of this trade that are hired just for heads. They're heads on a job site. Got to put bodies on the job, okay? That's those 20%. So during a bad economy, what do you think happens to that 20%? They go to other trades. They do anything, okay? If you're disciplined and you have proper training, you're not leaving this trade. And your pay rate is most likely going to be in the upper 20% because this trade values you to stay around. All right. So when you're entering this trade, you need to realize that there is an underlying community and there's underlying situations that are happening in this trade, and they have been for well before I entered into it. I was just lucky enough that my mentor taught me about every little secret that there was about this trade, okay? And that's the same thing I'm teaching my guys, okay? I'm teaching my guys, how to dress properly in the morning. What does that do? When to put your tool belt on. What is the point of a tool belt? It's not just that the tools are on the side of you. It's about muscle memory. It's about learning the feel of your tools. It's important because when you get into a switch box or you get into, panels or whatever you're digging into, the more experience you have with your hands, the better of a product that your hands can produce. And you'll hear me on videos shun gaming. I do. I definitely shun gaming. It doesn't help your muscle memory with your hands. Hand muscle movements are accurate. Hand muscle movements are extremely important in this trade. We're constantly using our hands. The very best thing that I've found so far is working on a beater car or truck, whatever, like the older ones. Like, we're not working on this thing because it's your daily driver. That's a completely different video. You never work on your own daily driver. Again, we're gearing up for full-time employment here. I'll go into it real quick. You never work on your daily driver because your daily driver is a fundamental asset to be employed in this trade. You have to have a working car. So let a mechanic work on it. Get the cheapest car possible if you're young. Do whatever you need to do, but your car has to be reliable. Now, for hand movements and muscle movements, working on getting your hand strength up, okay, and this is usually for guys that are like 2 years in, upwards of 5 years in, work on an old pickup truck, work on an old car, get your hands into it, get physical into that car. It builds hand strength up, and it's just a better part-time hobby than playing on video games or watching TV or playing on your phone. Again, I'm talking about disciplines for the better mechanic. These disciplines, it's almost like going out to a gym, okay? The more you work out, the stronger you're going to be. So if you're looking to be an electrician in this trade and you want to be a tradesman, someone that is learning techniques not for the money, but to become a wiser technician. If you're trying to become a wiser technician, you need to know proper installation practices, not just shortcuts. Shortcuts are good sometimes as long as they don't jeopardize the safety of the equipment, okay? But the proper installation methods, and why are they the proper installation methods? That's what's most important, knowing the why. Okay, why are dining room circuits 12 gauge? Okay, why is a vacuum topped out at 12.5 amps? Okay, most vacuums in the residential home are topped out at 12.5 amps, and that's because in the NEC code book, we can only use 80% of a 15 amp circuit. Okay, so engineers have to build based on 80% of a 15 amp circuit for a residential home. Hence, vacuums are 12.5 amps, okay? Knowing that's important, okay? Especially when like a homeowner calls saying she's tripping a circuit because she's running a microwave and she has her vacuum plugged in with her microwave. All right? But it's not just, proper installation practices will help you troubleshoot as well. But it'll make you a better tradesman in the long run, okay? And that's my fundamental goal, is to teach proper tradesmanship practices from day one, from guys showing up 15 minutes early, having their shirt tucked in, respecting themselves, wearing clean clothes, knowing why they're wearing a tool belt, not just because they're being told to wear a tool belt, but how much of a different technician you're going to be versus a guy that doesn't wear a tool belt. Okay, if you put a guy that's trained with a tool belt every day for 5 years, and then you put a guy with 2 tools in his back pocket, Mr. Joe Cool, okay? Tool belt guy is going to be given more opportunities, more raises, and is more likely to go out and start his own business, okay? Mr. Two Tools is going to be Mr. Excuse. He's going to learn every excuse. He's going to blame the guy next to him, the guy behind him, the guy in front of him. He is the Mr. Blame game. And one of the worst things you can possibly hear is an excuse coming from someone who calls themselves a mechanic. That's the worst. It's almost like nails on a chalkboard. Okay, if you're a mechanic, the mechanics have the tenacity and the experience and the wherewithal to accomplish what needs to get done no matter what obstacle is in front of them. That's why mechanics are mechanics. And I'm talking about electrical mechanics, not automotive or whatever. All right. The guys that make excuses are wannabe mechanics. I think I'm just going to leave it at that for today. God bless. Enjoy your Thursday. Oh, happy 420.